Welcome, everybody. Good morning. We'd like to welcome you to the August edition of the Best Missouri Hands Professional Development Workshop Series. Today we have Carol Estes with us, who's going to talk. She's a juried Best Missouri Hands photographer, and she's doing some really cool things with her photography and stuff. So we've got her on here today to explain some of her process. And thank you for being with us today, Carol.
You're welcome. If somebody could turn a screen share on, I have a PowerPoint thing so I can pull up my screen.
You
I
bet.
forgot to mention it earlier.
That's okay.
I sent a share
I'll
request.
get you figured. We'll get you. Okay, you should be able to share now.
All right. All right, can you see my screen, alternative processes?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, very good. All righty. Basically, what happened was a few weeks ago, after I got an invite from to do this, my photography club had a cancellation and asked me if I would do a PowerPoint for them. And so what I had to do was create a little bit more than just a chlorophyll printing. So what I did was create a little bit about all the alternative processes I do, and then I'll then work into the chlorophyll at the end. And everything here is based on science and outdoors. And I call this self-teaching because there really is not a book on to do all of this. You basically have to take things one at a time and figure out what you want to do. And basically, photography started about 1830-ish. And of course, they had to rely on the sun because it was before electricity. So everything they did was based on UV light. And so now we have the ability to kind of harness UV light and take some of these things and do a lot more with it and be creative with it using the basics that they did. And that's why I say nearly everything is in your kitchen cabinet, a junk pile in the garage, or sending you coded messages from your yard. Here are the 4 basic things I do. I have a little bit more, and then all the details are in all the slides so you can read more later. The anthotypes is mixing potions up using alcohol as a base. You spread it on the paper, and then you put leaves and things outdoors, and they're called anthotypes. And you can see about 1842, this he was working on this type of approach. Then in about the same time, William Henry Fox Talbot was working on lumen prints, and he was using actual photographic paper that they would use to make their prints. And it was already light sensitive. And they would do put objects onto the photo paper. And now today you can buy photo paper and use it. It's available anywhere. So you have the ability to do all sorts of things with that. Then there's cyanotypes, of course, and that is the basic Prussian blue base of 2 chemical mixes that make everything blue and white. And I did a little thing on that before, but that is also terribly obsessive. And then this was, I found Ben Dawn online as I was looking up chlorophyll printing just because I wanted to educate myself. It turns out that he worked in the 90s and 2000 in Vietnam and using banana leaves, and because they were indigenous to Vietnam. And he created an amazing exhibit that is now in major museums and art houses, where he took vintage photographs from the Vietnam War and put them on leaves. And it was truly something to think, oh my gosh, that was just amazing. So I thought, how could I do my own thing and create my own thing? Here's what the anthotypes look like. And then upper left is the paper drawing. And then it shows how I laid out my objects that I had all over glass, and then they process through, and then you rinse. And down here, to pull this up a little bit, and I use turmeric and isopropyl alcohol, and that's what makes these. And this has lots of details. You can go back and look at the slide later with all the details. It said I marked down, I used about 3 hours for some of these anthotypes and rinse them. And they do fade. And so the screen is cutting off a little bit, but they do fade. So I scan them and I put the originals in a folder, and then I iron them flat later, and then I can use the prints, the scan for prints, and or come back and do something else on the computer with the originals. Here's the lumen prints, and I used 5x7 photographic paper that it's actually film paper that film photographers use. And the same process, you lay everything out between glass. And then this requires a set process because the process will continue with the light. It'll just darken out completely because the paper will just continue to cook. And so in the center, there's a formula that used as a rinse. And then you can see on the left side is when I brought it in. And then in the center is when I took everything off. And then to the right shows the fixed print. And that actually makes it somewhat archival, so it will keep. And so, but the problem is that the archival fix does change the color of everything. So the pink and everything is just beautiful, but when you fix it, then you have that's why scanning the originals is good, because then you have the opportunity to use these later. And they're also called photograms. And it says
Hey,
about 90
Carol,
minutes I use for, yes,
Barbara
yeah.
has a question for you. You're muted, Barbara.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, as you know, I'm always interested in anything photography. You mentioned here when I was reading this that you used, I think you used black and white paper, pearl photo
Yes,
paper.
yes,
Can you also
yes.
do this with color?
I don't know, because the first round of reading up about this, they had the excuse me, the person that did the run on this was using black and white paper. So I don't know if you can or cannot. That's a question I'll have to look into myself, because I don't know.
It would be a
But
good experiment.
yeah, the sample of the view I was watching on YouTube, well, was actually using black and white. So I ordered black and white paper just to follow use, because I didn't say you had to. I just said, here, I use black and white.
Right. I
So
was just wondering if you'd done
something
that.
I don't
Okay.
know. So we'll have to figure it out. I'll have to, since I don't do film, I generally would have to order everything anyway. So
Right.
it'll be interesting. I'll have to Google it later and find out if you can do photograms, if there's any difference between the outcome between using color and black and white photo paper. So good
Yeah.
question, because I don't know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just holler, yeah, just holler if you need anything, because I have a bad problem with not watching the screen if you have a question to raise like this. So Kim, feel free to say hello, Carol. All right, and here's the cyanotypes. I did my little program with you guys before on this, and this most of the time I work indoors with this, because I can control everything. The angle of the light, it's dry, there's no wind, and then I can go back and forth to check everything. And I could do this at 10 o'clock at night if I'm in the mood. So, and then there's a one-to-one formula to put it together, and it's a wonderful thing. And then the example I use up here to the right are little pressed weeds, and those are cicada wings. And yeah, and then you can see it came back with watercolor pencils, because you can do some toning and stuff. I'm not very good at it, but using coffee and liquids from boiling other plants and stuff to change and pull some of the blues out and make some more less color of blue. But I kind of like using the watercolor pencils. And I think about 8 to 15 minutes or so when I was doing. Yes, dear.
I have a question for you, Carol. Okay, so the two examples above, you're using botanical. So basically, you're creating prints from plants.
Yes.
But on the cyanotype, it looks like you have created a print from a photo you've taken or from another photo.
You can actually when you see the angel here, the one on the left is actually the negative film positive that I used to make the cyanotype. But you can use, there's a cyanotypes, there's a wet process and a dry process. The wet process is you don't have to wait for the cyanotype chemicals to dry. You can work with them wet and then put vinegar and salt, turmeric. You can do it to create some color and effects on it, so it's not just flat blue and white. Or you can on the left side create special negatives on transparency sheets and special film, so that when you make the contact, the one-to-one contact tight, you can come back with a beautiful photograph. So, but I think you can do that with the film if you have a very simple pattern on the for the other things. I just haven't tried it because sometimes you don't know. It may be the may not have enough time to get enough detail in, because of the material that's on the paper, the liquid. It may react, and everything might it may not be very detailed. It might be just kind of mushy around and not give you a really good image. That's why up here you can see up on the left side, you have some very, on the right side, you see the detail from these little plants. And on the left, you see it's a little more difficult. You don't have the same kind of detail. So it's hard to know how much detail those two do. Most of the time I see see people using these with just plants and and then the film positives on the cyanotypes.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Sometimes you have to do something totally different. And this is cyanotype cat, and she needed to be adopted. So I had to come up with a piece of artwork. So I created cat prints for the notes and put her on a background. And so she's in a frame with her own song called The Sound of Music. All right, here's a chlorophyll printing. This is crazy. I started reading this about a year ago and became so obsessed that I just had to just put plants out and try it. Upper left, you can see where that's how you just take the green plant, and I use the films. You basically have to use film on it because the leaf is so thin, and the glass, you have to have the chunkier the distance between the glass and the leaf, the less detail you'll get. It's just because of the distance and the sun. And so all of these you see are created by these film negatives that I create on the computer. And not everything works. And I found out that the horn player, that is actually mulberry leaf, I believe, and then she's a hosta leaf. The three jazz players, that's a hydrangea leaf. And over on the right are hosta leaves, and down below, I believe those are two. The horn player, it turns out my horn player was too big for one of the little leaves, so I laid two leaves and put them together to create a two-part thing just to test. It's the first one I've ever done, trying to put two leaves together, because otherwise whatever your image is, it has to fit inside the shape of the leaf, and the shape of the leaf isn't always perfect. And sometimes you print out things and they're not necessarily exact size, and sometimes you have to wing it a little bit. So that's what we do. And this whole process is kind of a wing anyway, because I'm just experimenting. And I would say my success rate is about 40% overall. And then here we come, and use a piece of glass and the office clips to keep everything together. And this is an all-day process depending on how strong the sun is. And if you have clouds, it could take 5 hours. If the sun is out like it has been with 90 degrees, it could be less. You just have to learn by looking at, as the leaf changes color, sometimes you can kind of tell. But you can sometimes, if you try a leaf you've never tried, you can go out and do this and pull your thing off and your thing up, and it'll be blank. And that's when you find out that there are certain leaves that just don't like this process. So when I'm done, there is a there we go. There is a different classes of people on whether or not they want to keep this all natural and eco-friendly, or if you are like me, want to create a long-term piece of art out of it. You do have to do a set process to make the leaf so that it will survive and not get dry and brittle. And Ben Don, actually, he's the one that started archiving his leaves using resin. And I have been using resin quite a while. So I decided to follow his resin idea. But then the upper left where you see there, it says copper sulfate pentahydrate, which is not eco-friendly, and glycerin and water are all cooked together, and the leaves are all put into a 3-part thing. I soak them in alcohol, and then I move them into the copper sulfate mix, and then I move them into water to rinse it out. And then I have them lay them flat under weight to let them all dry. Then when they're dry, where you can see the piece and you can see the hummingbird, those are after set process and dry and ready. And then you move to the right top where you can see I resin one side, let them set, flip them over, and resin both sides. And that will help reduce fading, because what Mother Nature giveth, Mother Nature can take it away. So fading is one of the drawbacks to chlorophyll printing. So the resin creates one layer of UV protection, and then after the resin, because the resin is so shiny, I use a matte UV spray that a lot of artists use just to protect their art. And I spray the front of it that's going to go in the frame, and it takes all of the shine away and makes the leaf look a little bit more natural rather than a big blobby glossy thing. And and then down the bottom you see the leaves upside down with white. Sometimes the depth of the image is kind of seems off visually, so I realize that if after I resin, if I paint the back of the leaf with white acrylic, then it in itself pushes light back through the leaf. on the front side, and actually kind of helps the image pop a little bit more. I learned that by accident because I had a leaf that didn't have a lot of oomph to it, and I thought, how could I do it? And when I laid a piece of white paper behind it, it kind of helped. But I didn't want the whole white sheet behind it. So I thought, well, if I just limit the white paint around the image on the back side, then I could do whatever I want to in my last bit of framing. And anybody else, I know I'm rushing through this and it's a lot. Anybody else have any questions? Now,
I do.
this,
Okay.
yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, so
Go right
you
ahead.
said you're creating images on the computer and printing them on film to then
Yes,
transfer to the leaf?
that's a yes. Here is upper left. I've done this ballerina. She's actually a metal cut laser metal piece of an object that I ordered off eBay a long time ago for another purpose and never used it. Then all of a sudden I realized she would fit perfectly on a large hosta leaf. And so that's what happened. And so there she is in the lower right. And she laid perfectly on top, and then with the glass, she became the negative because I didn't need to make one. Now, on the right side is you see this figure, and it's inverted because everything is opposite. So I have inverted the image because I was using it for cyanotypes. And I grabbed it and I put it on the leaf, the large leaf, because it fit, because I already had it and I wanted to experiment with the inverted leaf. This is she's printed on a special film, posit film by Epson that's designed for my printer. And I had a roll film, and I could a roll film for my printer, and I could print them small, large, and whatever. They do okay with this, but this film doesn't really like lots of hours of sun. It doesn't mind the UV light for the cyanotypes indoors, but it sometimes the leaf and the film will react together and get stuck, because that's just the way this film was made. It was really not made to be put outside to do this crazy weird stuff. Now the bottom center is 8.5 by 11 sheets of transparency film that will print on your regular printer. I use a laser printer, and just a simple, inexpensive laser printer. And there's 8.5 clear sheets. They just set one at a time in my printer, and you create whatever it is, and make your dark blacks really, really dark and whatnot. And what happens is that the transparency, the printer will only print out when you're printing black and white, it's only going to print the black anyway because you're using white paper. So in this, it prints only the black. So there's nothing else. It becomes totally transparent. So you can make and do whatever you want to size wise. And these are just odd cut because I just did these recently. And here's to show you what I did after these all have had the matte spray put on them after they have had the resin. So it goes to show you that's the biggest battle I had, because I was using cold wax, Dorland's cold wax, but it kept moving because it would stick to the resin. It kept moving. Every time I touched it to do, the wax would not stick to the resin. So that's why I had to find something else to do. And then I found a matte UV spray, and it took away all of that. And the matte UV spray is also a second layer of UV protection. And then my friend who is a framer, he cuts UV glass for me. So all of these go into deep frames because you can't have anything touch the glass. So these all go into deep frames, and I use UV glass. And that way I've given myself 3 layers of UV protection, and about as much as I could possibly do in without standing with a piece of paper to block the sun or light. And then I just tell people that suggest that they just don't hang it in a really bright room, and that will help extend it. But but yes, I found this, but the transparency film is great because you can it's cheap, and you can test it out. And if your image has too much detail, is too small, you could go back and make it a little bit bigger. And then I use hydrangea leaves that have a limit of size, and hosta leaves. If you use a small hosta or a large hosta, you have to change the size of everything so that you have composition and balance as well in the leaves, because it just all the little things you have to think through into creating the piece of art. And that's what I do. And so here's a few of the things that I have done. This one, she didn't come out as dark as I had hoped, but I had the leaf on the left is a failure leaf that didn't work on another day. So I actually doubled them up and named her the consort, because technically in life, the consort is there, but she's always in the background. So, and this is Fidgety Feet. And go ahead.
I have two questions for you.
Yes.
For one, on the leaves, so is this something that are you able to pick leaves and preserve them to use later in the year, or is it you
No,
got to work now while the leaves?
I can put them in the refrigerator for a couple of days or so. And so you can't, hosta leaves will kind of go into the will actually don't do farewell. I put them in a little zippy bag and dry, and just put them in open. I don't seal it, just set it in the fridge, because I have a friend that had much better hostas than I did last year. And so she let me use hers, because I have a problem with insect damage on my hosta leaves, and rabbits and chipmunks and everybody chewing on them. And I'll go outside and have the perfect size of hosta leaf, but it has chew marks around it, or insect holes all the way through it. And so you don't want to, you really want to have nice looking leaves. So I found out that I could go over to my friend's house and pick her hosta leaves and come back and work and to do. But what was your second question?
And so, like, basically, this is not something you could be doing this fall or winter when
It,
things slow
uh,
down. This is something
you if you have if you have an indoor plant that will allow you to succeed in this process, you can do it indoors. And I have a 200-watt UV light. It's not a black light, it's a regular 200-watt UV light. And I have actually done these indoors on a rainy day while I'm practicing and doing, because I just keep trying. And sometimes I'll have days where the weather's terrible and I'm not home. And so sometimes I'll put them in, and they take hours to do. So but part of it's the experimental process to figure out what can be done indoors and what can be done outdoors. But it's cheaper outside, and sometimes the weather and your schedule don't work together. And when I get obsessed and in the mood to work on this, sometimes I just have to keep going. And she was
Okay.
done with the transparency layer over the hosta leaf. This is hydrangea. Hydrangeas are really a good fit. So I have an older hydrangea that has larger leaves. It does pretty well. I have some newer hydrangeas, and they don't work as well. But you can also take two leaves off of the same plant. One will work and one will not work the same day. It's crazy. And so sometimes it has to do with where the plants are in relationship to the sun, I think. In life, if they're in too much, if they grow in too much shade, sometimes I think they don't get enough chlorophyll in them. And then I tried some young mulberry leaves and some older ones. The older leaf worked better than the young ones. So I'm wondering if the young leaves didn't build up in the chlorophyll because they were back in, because mulberries, the leaves are just huge clusters. You can be deep in the canopy of the tree. So I'm not sure if they get enough natural chlorophyll for the sun to react to it. But
Carol?
yes.
Sorry, I agree with you on the chlorophyll. I think that that's exactly what's going on. But my question was, are you pressing these leaves first, or do you just do it all at once? Excuse me.
I go outside and I take some scissors and I clip the leaf, and I have my glass ready, and I just walk in and then lay the leaf down, put the transparency sheet down, and then I put the glass down and I put the clips around the edges and just walk it outside.
So it's all one
I mean,
process. It's not you're pressing
it's
the
all one
leaf.
process, right? It's all
Okay.
one process, and sometimes a little delay because sometimes I'll clip a leaf and the leaf is too small for the image I have in my hand, so I have to go back and look for another leaf. And then when I have a leaf already clipped, then I'll come back. Now, there's one other thing is hostas. The large hostas have a very thick stem. And so I don't know if you can't really see it in this one very well, but at the bottom of the hosta leaf above, I clip a triangle up into the leaf to take the entire stem of the hosta leaf out, because that stem will raise the glass up and put a pocket of air in, and then condensation builds up, and also the leaf will ripple, and so will the negative. So it doesn't give you that contact that you want. So I found out all the process of learning that the thicker the stem is, the less stem you want under the glass, because that's going to create put a gap in between the glass, and the less gap you have, the more detailed you get in the process. And then and part of this is what to do with the leaves, because there are a lot of people that I'm on an alternative processes page, and I went viral with some of this just recently, and I got 784 reactions to one of my posts this past week. And I thought, I don't know if I've had 784 reactions for the entire 6 months on anything. So, but they can say, how do you do this? How do you do this? So finally I put a post in and I said, okay, I'm putting together a YouTube video, and I will have more details with that. And I'm going to put a separate video up for just this, the chlorophyll, with a little bit of video action to show what I'm doing with some of this, rather than just the still slides. And that way they can see my process, and it's actually how I do, because I just took bits from everybody I've read and created my own little workflow. And this is actually the Indiana state leaf, and this is a tulip poplar. And it's difficult to work with because it's like putting a Kleenex in water to work with. The minute this leaf goes into the water, it just wants to fold into nothing. And it's a challenge all its own to do it. But the shape of the leaf is so wonderful to create things to do. And this is actually a huge leaf. This frame is 11 by 14. So this really is a big leaf I did. And that's why I do smaller work, because this is only 8 by 8, because I work with basically work with the balance of the size of the leaf, and I find the 5 by 7s and 8 by 8s are just a good a point of putting together because of the size of the leaf, because you don't want the leaf to cram into the frame, but you don't want the leaf to be too small in the frame. And then this is called a love letter. And I found this is not my photo. All the rest of these are my photos except this. I found her and just fell in love with her. And I found a love letter in French online, and I printed the love letter in French on the background, and I titled it the love letter.
Hmm.
This
Hey,
is
Carol,
yes,
I have a question. There
yeah.
is such a process and so many variables um and one thing artists struggle with is pricing. How do you come up with a pricing for these
That,
pieces and stuff?
okay, I don't know because there really is not a market. I'm making this stuff on the fly, and I find there really truly is no market for the originals because a lot of times people will do this and they scan them and they'll sell prints. Same thing with cyanotypes on Etsy and other places I found that they don't sell the originals, but they sell prints of their scan prints of their cyanotypes. So this is difficult because I really like the ability to put an original piece of art together because as a photographer, I've lived a life of printing everything. And I love the idea of presenting an all original piece of art and of mixed media. And so that's where I kind of thought, well, find this lane. So I can't really, yeah, there's a lot of layers to do. And that's why the here, oh, I say this immaculate, she's actually, I'll come back to that in just a second. This is Immaculate Conception. I was taken at the Nelson Atkins Museum in Kansas City with my iPhone, and so you could actually take iPhone photos, make these, this is inverted. First time I've ever done an inverted piece on it. And I love this inversion and the depth and everything on it. It just is like a game changer now. So now I love the concept of taking figures and using in the inverted version of the figures to add extra depth as opposed to just a silhouette on the leaf because I didn't know until this accident that I could control depth in this because basically the sun is making a silhouette and then you move on. And so now I found out that so there is a way to create depth and whatnot in these. And so now my new obsession is now working on the depth factor to create more depth and stuff in these, which is a great thing to do. And then the background here is found Pope Francis actually wrote a prayer for the Immaculate Conception. So I translated it into Italian and it'll be her background.
Hmm,
And
very
these
cool.
are these are my largest pieces. These are 12 by 16 inside measurements. And I think they're about an inch and a half deep. And these are custom frames that I put together. The basic frame I ordered, but I had to create the rest of the spacers and the backs and everything. I had to create everything in order to put this together. So, these are the largest pieces I've ever done. And that's why I knew price point was going to go up as well, because these all float. And so you have to go in and create ways to float them over the background, but not touch the glass. And then also the larger your pieces, the more expensive. This is UV non-glare glass, which is probably it's number 2 to museum glass in price. And so, when you're going this far to do, then I knew that a 12 by 16 piece of glass probably needed non-glare in order to have it look the best it could possibly do without a glare do. And that was my I went on price point on this to do, and I'm making this stuff up out of my head. So so what I did was I went to the 5x7s, and so I struck a price point of 65 for the little 5x7s. $85 for the simple 8x8s. And I haven't done anything. I think my the one with the tulip frame, I think it was over like 145. But the ballerina here, as of right now, I have my first time ever using this price point of 325 on this because of the complexity and the investment in it. So I don't know how that's going to do, but I'm making it up as I go along because I'm creating my own market that isn't out there, so I have nothing to go
Right.
on. But you also have to keep the price point so that it's it looks balanced with the work, and also that people don't walk away. And price point is the hardest thing to do. And I don't know if I'm too high, too low. I have no anything, but that's where I'm starting with my first year of putting this together. So. And these the ballerinas are my first two biggest pieces, so that's how I'm working blind, price wise.
Mhm.
And here's where y'all find me. But it's a lot, and I appreciate you guys listening. And but in the art world, we're all looking for our own lane. And I just found alternative processes so interesting at this point in my life that I needed something to challenge me more. And I actually have two in the spring. I was in Kansas City. I bought two hothouse hosta plants, a couple of, and so they're sitting in a room away from the cats. And I have small leaves. It's a small leaf hosta, and so my unknown is whether or not a hothouse hosta will get the nature call to go quiet into the night in the fall like they do outdoors. So we'll find out. But there are people, there are florists that put hostas in arrangements, live arrangements. And so and I didn't know the answer until I was with a friend of mine. Her husband's a biologist. And I said, well, can I raise a hosta indoors through the wintertime? He says, I don't know. And then we walked into a florist off season, and it was in February. And we walked in, and she had some live hostas in a little mixed live um, arrangement to sell. So that I will answer later. When I failed at bringing them indoors this winter, and my scientist friend said that it had already probably gotten the idea to go dormant. So I would like to find some winter projects to do. Let's see what we can do. So thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
very interesting.
I know I get a lot,
Hey,
but
thank you. I have another question too. Did did I see you recently won an award at an art show with the?
not with one of these, but one of the, some other pieces I did. But I haven't. I actually have not put any of these pieces out yet. Um, I I have submitted the ballerina on the right. Just got submitted to a show, but it took me 10 years to get a second one accepted to the show, another submission. So I'm 10 years apart from getting a piece into that show. So this
Yeah,
is so one year out of getting a piece in, but I know that no one else in their right mind would do this for the show. So I'm just knock on wood, thinking maybe I'm lucky because this is so far out that somebody say what the heck, and but yeah,
well,
no, but it
I think your
and
persistence
they
and
create so many.
dedication. Yeah, I was just gonna say your persistence and
working.
dedication to honing this craft is it will pay off. I think you're doing some pretty innovative work, and um, you're
And
you're
I'm
putting in the
cooking.
time, definitely.
Well, I'm cooking like crazy because I'm cooking and doing resin work, and I'm creating folders with all sorts of leaves that are ready to frame, but I can't do anything if I have no leaves to work on in the wintertime. I'm cooking, and as long as I've done the resin, they will up through the winter until I'm ready to put a concept together to frame them.
Carol, which
Mhm.
resin are you
So
using?
that's
Are you using something like art resin or?
I'm just using art resin. It's
Okay.
art resin is my preferred resin because I
Mhm.
love the way that it takes 24 hours, but
Right.
there was I just read something about couple of different kinds of resin. Some resins are faster setting, and they said that with this type of thing, the chlorophyll, it can be hard for beginners because of the fast time set time for some resins,
Mhm.
and sometimes it gets messy. So art resin just it takes a while. You walk away. It self levels, but what you have to do is that you have to paint. You have to paint the resin on, and
Mhm.
in order so it doesn't go, you can't allow the resin go over the edge of it ever, because it'll roll over to the backside of your leaf and
Right.
create, and if you do the back first, then sometimes then your front side ends up with hiccups with resin that rolled over. So I carefully paint all the way around the edge. You know, when they talk about doming with resin, called
Mhm.
doming, and it go all the way around the edge of whatever the edge of you're using. Just a paint it all the way around with the resin, then come back and brush to the center, because when you add that edge keeps the resin from rolling over the edge. It kind of gives it a stop point. So I read about doming, and so that's why I explain it's similar to doming, and to keep the resin from rolling off.
Thanks. And I like the idea that you were able to put the UV matte spray on top of the resin to get rid of that gloss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
That
drove me crazy. And I just couldn't figure anything out. And then I had the matte spray, and I just put it on I put it over a leaf that didn't turn out as well as I wanted after the resin. And so I did it, and boy, it just made a huge difference in it, and brought it almost back to a normal state. I thought, yay. And that's what you
Yeah.
want, because there's people that like this process, but you can't hang it up, you can't enjoy it, you can't make an art piece out of it, because it can't be archival enough to do that. And
Mhm.
they do it, but they have to put them away and to keep them from fading. So,
Yeah.
and then next month, I sold one of my first ones at a show last fall. I see the lady in next month, and I will ask her how her piece is after a year, and see if she responds to, if she has noticed any fading from her piece that she took from me. So that'll be my first objective feedback from it after, because it just takes time to figure. The um the uh tulip leaf is a year old as well. It went into a show last summer. So but I haven't been hanging it on the wall. I just put it away while I was creating this collection. So
And I would
okay.
imagine with
All right.
everybody has different places that they hang things, and some room might be brighter than another. Like in this room, I mean, if I had this open, it would
Right.
be way too bright for probably some of
Yeah.
that stuff. Um,
Oh, and I was going to say, this is a leaf I just did and set. So this is what happens after the first set process with the chemicals. This is what happens. A leaf is soft and pliable like this. Otherwise, if you didn't do it, it would just trip and be burned. So that's why the chemical process is so good. I have to go lay it down. It's getting a little wrinkly, so I have to go back and they have to be flat, and I'm going to have to go in and resin everything because sometimes they'll Mother Nature will cause them to ripple up a little bit, and you want them as flat as possible when you resin, so that they don't have any ripple in them. And but yeah, it's fun stuff, and now you can see why I don't get any other work done.
Is it something that you'll ever think of doing a hands-on workshop with folks for?
You know what, people already asked me about it, but the thing it's you really can't, because each of the hostilities, they could take 6 hours.
Hmm.
You have to put them outside, and then they have to dry overnight, and then you have to come back and you have to do the resin. That's 2+ days, and then you have to come in. So so it's almost impossible. So that's why I'm putting together a more detailed YouTube video that will show all of the processes and a little bit of work, and I'll do have some more, a little bit more I'll have video with it to do, and to show what I'm doing to do, so people could uh, choose whether or not they want to jump in. Because you can actually do this,
Right.
it's just like cyanotypes. You can do this outdoors and then just bring your leaf in and just put it between paper and then put it in a folder and put it away. You can do that. That's what a lot of people do. They have success, they put it away, and they cook another leaf and they put it away. And but I wanted to I'm a starter and not a finisher. So the fact that I finished up and did both of these ladies, these ballerinas, the fact that I got this far through this over the last months, I impressed myself, because I like to start lots of things, but uh, as we all
Well, well done, Carol. Well done.
Thank you.
Do either of you ladies have any more questions for Carol? It was very informative. I've learned a lot. Very interesting process. It's a lot of work, a lot of work. So
do.
good
It
for
is,
you.
yeah. It's nothing has scared me away so far. Maybe other
No, I don't
people.
think anything will scare you away, Carol.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I said, but well, yeah, we were talking about, and I tell people, I said, I think me and power tools probably will not be a good fit at this point. So I'll stick with this.
Well, it looks like you are doing a fantastic job at it. So I'd say keep it up. It's impressive,
I can't cook
very
it.
impressive.
It's cloudy today, so I can't cook anything. So
Mhm.
I'll have to clean house or something.
Uh-oh.
Darn.
Hopefully the sun will come out soon.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you, Carol. Very,
Oh, you're
very
so
much,
welcome.
very informative. And would you put your slide back up with your information on it for us, please? And I'll make sure that's included with the YouTube. Um, yeah, there you go.
That's fine.
I appreciate that. So,
Oh, you're welcome.
thank you. I think our members will find this interesting, and hopefully you've inspired some folks to uh, give a give this a try or something, or just experiment more with their photography. And I know Barbara does, things that I've never thought of doing too and stuff. So it's interesting to see all the different things that can be done, you know. So
And the slides
impressive.
allow the slides allow everybody to stop and read all the details, because I didn't go into extreme details, read all the slides. So it gives everybody a chance to go back and take all the information off the slides.
Yeah, and once your YouTube video is out there and stuff, make sure you post it on Best Missouri Hands, and
Oh, I will.
we'll
Yeah.
get that shared around for you.
Good.
So
Okay.
thank you very much. I guess Wanda, if you want to